Look Back in Anger, by John Osborne. About the author. John Osborne (1929–1994) was a British playwright, screenwriter, actor, and critic who rose to prominence in the 1950s as one of the leading figures of the "angry young men" movement in British literature and theatre. Osborne's breakthrough came with the production of his play, Look Back in Anger, in 1956. The play revolutionized British theatre with its portrayal of the angry young man, and its rejection of conventional dramatic forms. Following the success of Look Back in Anger, Osborne wrote several other plays, including The Entertainer, 1957, Inadmissible Evidence, 1964, and A Patriot for Me, 1965. Many of his works were met with critical acclaim and controversy. Osborne's plays often dealt with themes of class struggle, disillusionment, and existential angst. His characters were frequently disillusioned with the social and political order of post-war Britain. In addition to his work in theatre, Osborne had a successful career as a screenwriter. Osborne also wrote original screenplays, including Tom Jones, 1963, which won the Academy Award for Best Picture, and The Charge of the Light Brigade, 1968. Osborne's influence on British theatre and culture is undeniable. His groundbreaking portrayal of working-class life and his rejection of traditional dramatic forms paved the way for a new generation of playwrights. He was awarded numerous accolades throughout his career, including the Tony Award for Best Play and an Academy Award for Best Adapted Screenplay. In 1993, he was knighted for his services to drama. John Osborne remains a towering figure in British theatre, celebrated for his bold and uncompromising exploration of social and psychological themes. His legacy continues to influence playwrights and filmmakers around the world, leaving an indelible mark on the landscape of 20th-century drama. Significance of the title. The title, Look Back in Anger, holds significant thematic and emotional resonance within the context of the play. The title encapsulates the predominant emotional state of the protagonist, Jimmy Porter. Jimmy is characterized by his simmering rage and resentment towards the world around him. His anger is palpable and often erupts in impassioned outbursts directed at society, his wife Allison, and their friends. Thus, Look Back in Anger serves as a poignant descriptor of Jimmy's volatile temperament and the underlying discontent that fuels his actions. The phrase, "look back in anger," can be interpreted as a critique of the societal norms and values that Jimmy perceives as oppressive and unjust. Throughout the play, Jimmy rails against the hypocrisy, complacency, and class-based inequalities of post-war British society. His anger is fueled by a sense of disillusionment with the status quo, as he grapples with his own alienation and marginalization. The title also suggests a retrospective examination of past experiences and regrets. Jimmy's anger is often rooted in his memories of a childhood marked by poverty, loss, and abandonment. His resentment towards his parents, his upbringing, and the opportunities denied to him manifests in his present-day frustrations. Thus, Look Back in Anger alludes to Jimmy's ongoing struggle to reconcile his past traumas with his present circumstances. In addition to its relevance within the narrative, the title of the play holds broader cultural significance. Look Back in Anger emerged during a period of social upheaval and generational conflict in post-war Britain. The phrase came to symbolize the voice of a disillusioned youth challenging the established order and demanding change. As such, The title serves as a rallying cry for a generation grappling with the complexities of identity, class, and societal expectations. In essence, Look Back in Anger serves as a multifaceted metaphor for the emotional, social, and cultural tensions that permeate the play. It encapsulates Jimmy Porter's seething discontent, while also reflecting broader themes of societal critique, personal reflection, and generational discord. Summary of the play: Look Back in Anger. Look Back in Anger, 1956, is a realist play written by John Osborne. It focuses on the life and marital struggles of an intelligent and educated but disaffected young man of working-class origin, Jimmy Porter, and his equally competent yet impassive upper-middle-class wife Allison. The supporting characters include Cliff Lewis, an amiable Welsh lodger who attempts to keep the peace, and Helena Charles, Allison's snobbish friend. Act 1. The play opens in a cramped attic apartment shared by Jimmy Porter, a young working-class man, and his wife Allison. Jimmy is ironing clothes while Allison reads a book. They engage in banter that quickly escalates into an argument, revealing the simmering tensions in their relationship. Jimmy expresses his frustrations with Allison's passivity and their stagnant life. Cliff Lewis, Jimmy's friend and flatmate, arrives home from work. He provides a contrast to Jimmy's intensity with his easygoing nature. The three of them discuss various topics, including politics and popular culture, highlighting their differing perspectives and backgrounds. Allison receives a visit from her friend Helena Charles, a sophisticated actress from a higher social class. Helena's presence further exacerbates the tensions within the household, particularly between Jimmy and Allison. The act ends with Jimmy's explosive outburst, reflecting his deep-seated anger and resentment towards society. Act 2. The second act takes place a few days later, with tensions still running high in the apartment. Jimmy continues to express his frustrations with Allison and Helena, criticizing their perceived lack of passion and authenticity. Allison confides in Helena about her troubled marriage and her feelings of alienation from Jimmy. Helena, meanwhile, reveals her attraction to Jimmy, further complicating the dynamics between the characters. As the act progresses, Jimmy's anger intensifies, leading to a series of confrontations and emotional outbursts. He accuses Allison of betraying him and lashes out at Helena for her perceived pretentiousness. The act ends with Allison leaving the apartment, signaling a rupture in their relationship. Act 3. The final act finds Jimmy alone in the apartment, grappling with the consequences of his actions. He reflects on his troubled past and uncertain future, struggling to come to terms with his own insecurities and regrets. Allison returns to the apartment, seeking reconciliation with Jimmy. They share a tender moment of intimacy, but their fragile peace is shattered when Allison reveals that she is pregnant. Jimmy reacts with a mixture of joy and fear, realizing the weight of their responsibilities. Cliff arrives home and attempts to mediate between Jimmy and Allison, urging them to reconcile their differences. However, their efforts are futile, and the act ends with Jimmy and Allison's relationship hanging in the balance. In conclusion, Look Back in Anger is a powerful exploration of love, class, and the search for meaning in a world filled with disillusionment and despair. Osborne's vivid characters and intense dialogue create a compelling portrait of post-war Britain, making the play a timeless classic of British theatre. Critical analysis of the play: Look Back in Anger. Look Back in Anger, by John Osborne, is a landmark play in British theatre, marking a significant departure from the genteel drawing room dramas that preceded it. Premiering in 1956, it immediately stirred controversy and sparked debates about class, youth culture, and the state of post-war Britain. Osborne drew inspiration from his personal life and failing marriage with Pamela Lane while writing Look Back in Anger, which was his first successful outing as a playwright. The play spawned the term, angry young men, to describe Osborne and those of his generation who employed the harshness of realism in the theatre in contrast to the more escapist theatre that characterized the previous generation. This harsh realism has led to Look Back in Anger being considered one of the first examples of kitchen sink drama in theatre. The play was received favorably in the theatre community, becoming an enormous commercial success, transferring to the West End and Broadway, and even touring to Moscow. It is credited with turning Osborne from a struggling playwright into a wealthy and famous personality, and also won him the Evening Standard Drama Award as the most promising playwright of 1956. The play was adapted into a motion picture of the same name by Tony Richardson, starring Richard Burton and Mary Ewer, which was released in 1959. The title itself encapsulates a prevailing theme of the play. Osborne's characters are deeply discontented with their lives, railing against the constraints of society and their personal circumstances. The play is a searing indictment of the class system in Britain. Jimmy Porter, the protagonist, is a working-class man who feels marginalized and oppressed by the upper classes. His resentment fuels much of the play's action and dialogue. Osborne presents a bleak portrayal of post-war Britain, where the promise of prosperity and progress has failed to materialize for many. Characters like Jimmy express disillusionment with the political establishment and societal norms. The play also explores gender roles and power dynamics within relationships. Jimmy's treatment of his wife Allison, as well as his interactions with her friend Helena, highlight the complexities of masculinity and femininity in mid-20th century Britain. Look Back in Anger is credited with revolutionizing British theatre, introducing a new style of realism that rejected the romanticism of previous generations. Osborne's use of colloquial language and gritty settings was groundbreaking at the time. The play tapped into the zeitgeist of post-war Britain, giving voice to a generation disillusioned with the status quo. Its themes of alienation and social unrest resonated with audiences and critics alike. Look Back in Anger paved the way for a new wave of British playwrights, including Harold Pinter and Tom Stoppard, who continued to explore themes of class, identity, and existential angst. Its influence can be seen in subsequent works of theatre, film, and literature. The play is set in 1950s England, a time of significant social and political change. Britain was grappling with the aftermath of World War II, including economic austerity measures and a shifting social landscape. The rigid class structure of British society is a central theme in the play. Jimmy Porter, as a working-class protagonist, represents the frustrations of a generation marginalized by the upper classes. The play critiques the privilege and entitlement of the elite while highlighting the struggles of the working class. Look Back in Anger emerged during the rise of the angry young men movement in British literature and theatre. These writers, often from working-class backgrounds, challenged established norms and institutions, giving voice to the disillusionment and restlessness of post-war youth. The play reflects a broader sense of disillusionment with traditional politics and institutions. Jimmy's diatribes against the government and the ruling class resonate with the growing skepticism and cynicism of the era. Osborne's use of colloquial language was revolutionary for its time. The characters speak in a naturalistic manner, using slang and everyday speech patterns. This realism adds authenticity to the dialogue and helps to establish the characters' personalities and social backgrounds. Jimmy's impassioned speeches and metaphors serve as rhetorical devices, conveying his inner turmoil and ideological fervor. His language is often laced with symbolism, reflecting his intellectualism and dissatisfaction with the status quo. Despite its serious themes, the play contains elements of humor and irony. Osborne uses wit and sarcasm to lighten the mood at times, while also subverting audience expectations and challenging conventional attitudes. Look Back in Anger follows a traditional three-act structure, with each act comprising a distinct phase of the narrative. The first act establishes the characters and conflicts, the second act intensifies the drama and tension, and the third act resolves the central conflict. The play unfolds in real time, with each scene representing a continuous passage of time. This immediacy creates a sense of urgency and intimacy, immersing the audience in the characters' lives and emotions. Osborne employs symbolism and imagery to enhance the thematic depth of the play. Motifs such as the ironing board, the trumpet, and the red light symbolize different aspects of the characters' inner lives and relationships. While primarily linear in structure, the play occasionally incorporates flashbacks and monologues to provide context and insight into the characters' motivations and backstories. In conclusion, Look Back in Anger remains a seminal work in the annals of British drama, celebrated for its raw emotion, social commentary, and enduring relevance. Osborne's portrayal of anger and alienation continues to captivate audiences, making the play a timeless classic of the theatrical canon. Themes. Look Back in Anger explores a myriad of themes that resonate deeply with the audience, reflecting the social, political, and personal struggles of the characters. Here's a detailed explanation of some of the prominent themes in the play. Anger and frustration. The title itself suggests a prevailing theme of anger, which permeates the play. Jimmy Porter embodies this anger, expressing his frustration with societal norms, class inequality, and personal disappointments. Jimmy's anger stems from a sense of alienation and disillusionment with the world around him. He feels disconnected from mainstream society and struggles to find meaning in his life. Class struggle. The play is a scathing critique of the class system in post-war Britain. Jimmy, as a working-class protagonist, resents the privilege and entitlement of the upper classes, viewing them as oppressors. Jimmy's anger is fueled by his perception of being marginalized and voiceless in a society that values wealth and status. His frustration with the limitations imposed by his social background drives much of the narrative. Disillusionment with society. The play reflects a broader sense of disillusionment with the promises of post-war prosperity. Jimmy's generation, often referred to as the angry young men, grapples with the failure of society to live up to their expectations. Jimmy's tirades against politics, religion, and the media highlight a deep-seated skepticism towards established institutions. He sees these institutions as corrupt and hypocritical, contributing to the societal malaise. Gender dynamics. The play explores traditional gender roles and power dynamics within relationships. Jimmy's aggressive masculinity clashes with Allison's more passive femininity, leading to tension and conflict. Helena's arrival introduces a new dynamic to the household, as her attraction to Jimmy complicates the relationships further. The play delves into the complexities of sexual desire and intimacy. Identity and self-expression. Jimmy's anger is, in part, a quest for authenticity and self-expression. He rejects conformity and pretense, striving to live life on his own terms, even if it means alienating those around him. The characters grapple with questions of identity and personal integrity. Allison, in particular, struggles to assert her own identity and desires in the face of societal expectations and Jimmy's domineering personality. Love and relationships. The play examines the complexities of love and relationships amidst conflict and tension. Jimmy and Allison's marriage is fraught with resentment and misunderstanding, while Cliff and Helena navigate their own romantic entanglements. The characters often struggle to communicate effectively, leading to misunderstandings and misinterpretations. Their inability to express their true feelings exacerbates the conflicts within the play. In summary, Look Back in Anger is a multifaceted exploration of anger, class, disillusionment, gender dynamics, identity, and relationships. Through its vivid characters and searing dialogue, the play confronts the audience with the harsh realities of post-war Britain while also probing the universal human experiences of longing, resentment, and the search for meaning. Characterization. Here's a detailed character analysis of the main characters in Look Back in Anger. Jimmy Porter. Jimmy is the central protagonist of the play, a young working-class man in his mid-20s. He runs a small candy stall and lives in a cramped attic apartment with his wife Allison. Jimmy is intelligent, articulate, and intensely passionate. He is also deeply resentful of the social injustices and hypocrisies he perceives in society, which manifests in his frequent outbursts of anger. Jimmy's anger stems from a sense of alienation and frustration with the limitations imposed by his social background. He yearns for authenticity and self-expression, rejecting conformity and pretense. Jimmy's volatile temperament often leads to conflicts with those around him, particularly Allison and Helena. His emotional abuse and manipulative behavior towards Allison reflect his own insecurities and fear of vulnerability. Throughout the play, Jimmy undergoes moments of introspection and self-doubt, revealing his vulnerability beneath the veneer of bravado. His complex relationship with Allison and his search for meaning give depth to his character. Allison Porter. Allison is Jimmy's wife, a young woman from a higher social class who married him against her family's wishes. She struggles to find her place in Jimmy's world while grappling with her own insecurities and desires. Allison is sensitive, introspective, and emotionally fragile. She is often overshadowed by Jimmy's larger-than-life personality, leading to feelings of inadequacy and alienation. Allison's marriage to Jimmy is fraught with tension and resentment, as she grapples with his emotional abuse and her own conflicting emotions. Her desire for stability and security clashes with Jimmy's unpredictable nature. Despite her initial passivity, Allison undergoes a transformation over the course of the play, asserting her independence and confronting Jimmy about his behavior. Her decision to leave the apartment represents a significant step towards self-empowerment. Cliff Lewis. Cliff is Jimmy's friend and roommate, a laid-back and affable young man who works at a local market. He provides a contrast to Jimmy's intensity with his easygoing nature. Cliff is pragmatic, loyal, and non-confrontational. He serves as a mediator between Jimmy and Allison, attempting to diffuse tensions and maintain harmony within the household. Despite his efforts to keep the peace, Cliff finds himself caught in the middle of Jimmy and Allison's tumultuous relationship. He struggles to reconcile his loyalty to Jimmy with his concern for Allison's well-being. Cliff's character serves as a foil to Jimmy, highlighting the differences in their personalities and social backgrounds. His presence adds depth to the dynamics of the play and provides moments of levity amidst the drama. Helena Charles. Helena is Allison's friend from school, a sophisticated and ambitious young woman who works as an actress. She enters the apartment midway through the play, disrupting the already strained dynamics between Jimmy and Allison. Helena is confident, assertive, and independent. She is attracted to Jimmy's intensity and intellectualism, leading to romantic tension between them. Helena's presence exacerbates the tensions within the household, particularly between Jimmy and Allison. Her flirtation with Jimmy further complicates the relationships, adding fuel to the emotional turmoil. Helena represents a more conventional and upwardly mobile lifestyle, contrasting with Jimmy's working-class background. Her interactions with Jimmy and Allison highlight the complexities of class, gender, and desire in the play. In summary, the characters in Look Back in Anger are complex and multidimensional, each grappling with their own inner demons and external conflicts. Through their interactions and relationships, the play explores themes of class, gender, love, and identity, offering a searing portrayal of post-war Britain and the human condition.